Okay, yeah. I hope there's sound now. Please let me confirm in the comments if the sound is working now. I went to install one new plugin on my OBS and it has basically messed up the configuration because I was trying to improve the way I use OBS. So please let me know in the comments if everything is working. Can you see me? Can you hear me properly? I'll just give it a minute so I don't. Okay, yeah. So I think now it's fine. Okay, yeah, because it's one new plugin that I installed on my OBS, which has changed the entire layout. So I'm still trying to figure things out. They told me it's good for creating short content, so I installed it, and then it just changed the entire layout of my OBS. But yeah, okay. So today we'll just be talking about Elementor, and we'll be checking out some of their new beta features. So that's what we'll be focusing on today. And there are some comments floating around, about no code and low code and full code web developer. I'm not very good with those kind of conversations, so I may try to avoid all of those conversations. But yeah, let's go ahead and see what the new features that Elementor said they've brought in. So I think they mentioned that in version 4, they've added variables manager, custom CSS, blend mode, and all of that. If you haven't seen it already, I already did a video where I just went through a few of those features. So we're just going to try to see how some of these features can be used in our website. So let me pull up a site and we'll go from there. So let's go to Edit with Elementor. One thing I like about Elementor now is that they are also listening to everybody's opinions, because I know like a few years ago everybody was just going after Elementor, saying how Elementor don't want to improve, they don't want to change, they don't want to make any updates. And then they started making updates. That was in 2021, I think, when they brought out containers. But then people started saying it's too complicated, it's too complex. And then they now moved to atomic elements, and it's also the same thing. So it's like a moving target that you can't really please everybody, I guess. Like it's just so hard to please everybody. There's going to always be people on either side of the argument. For example, the more like code base that Elementor is going, the more some of the user base, because if you're attending some of these Elementor meetups, like the one in the UK meetup, the global Elementor meetup, you start to see that not everybody understands code the way some people do, and there are people of a certain like it's not easy for them to understand that kind of code. For example, some people are very way advanced in age, and it's hard for them to start learning new tricks. So that's one of the goals of these no code tools, is to try to find a level or like a balanced ground to allow anybody to be able to build a website. Because when it comes back to the term accessibility is removing barriers for everybody. So if you think about it from that angle, then like putting down no code completely is also saying that I want to introduce, I don't know how to explain it basically, but it's like these tools have to be there in order to make things accessible, because they're giving people the opportunity to build websites that they may not have had if those tools were not there, something like that. But yeah, I'm just going off in a tangent now. Let's go back to the topic, which is Elementor, and see how we can actually use Elementor to still write clean code, but using a UI, using Elementor. So let me see. Let me look for an example. I don't know. Let's use an example layout. Let me use I like using Anne's website, so I'll switch. We'll try to like create something simple like Anne's website and see how we can do it using Elementor. So let's try. So the first thing we'll do is, okay, let me go into a page. So we have a page in Elementor. I'll just delete everything. And now Elementor have come up with this new thing they call atomic elements, which you can access by going to, is it installed here? No, it's not. Yeah, let's see. I thought I installed one of those command UI on this site. I'm not sure. Let's see. Go to. Oh, it's not working. That means it's not installed. So I'll just go to Elementor and I'll go to their settings. So if you go to Elementor and then settings and you go under Editor v4, you can go ahead and activate Elementor Editor v4, which is their preview of the version 4 of Elementor, basically. So when you now go in there and you activate it, then you now get access to these atomic elements. So the basic thing is that Elementor are trying to do like a shift back. So they're not trying to like completely let go of the old way of building websites. So if you want to still stick with the old way, there's still the old way of using the container grid and all of the other widgets. But then if you want to now build it more professionally, like more, you want to have more advanced control, then you can choose to use the atomic elements. And then that one is kind of like a one-to-one comparison. So if you want a div, you use a div and it gives you a div. It doesn't give you a div with a wrapper div or any other kind of thing. If you drop in a div, you get a div. If you drop in a heading, you get exactly what you drop in, so that you can now build your website. Because the 3 important bits of web design are: you have your content, then you have your style, and then you have your dynamic interactions. The content is HTML, which in this case now is the atomic elements. Then your styling is your CSS, which in Elementor is called now global classes and global CSS. And then you have the last thing, which is the dynamic interactions, which can either be from the server side using PHP and dynamic data that Elementor provides, or on the other side, which is the browser side, using JavaScript. So all of those things combined together is what makes us have a beautiful website. So in terms of the HTML, we're now using atomic elements, which is way better. So now if you want to create your layout, for example, this layout. So let's see what the layout entails. So we have something like, if you look at it, it is a 13, I think that'll be like 1380 pixels, or about 1380 pixels, I believe. Yeah. If you look at the width at the top, somewhere at the top, you see 1380 pixels. So that's just around about the width. So we can either choose to use that, or I'll start small. I'll use something like 1200 pixels as the width of my container. And like someone mentioned, that there is never only one way to do everything. Hey, Jimmy, thank you for joining in. So for example, if you want to have a boxed layout, there are multiple ways to achieve that boxed layout. That it is now, like, you can't really say this is the only way you should do it. There's always multiple ways to do everything. One way might be the best, but there's always multiple ways. For example, let's try and do this layout using multiple ways. One way you can do it is, say for example, you want to have the least amount of divs as possible, like the lowest minimum amount of divs. You can simply just put a div block. Then I'll add maybe 2 blocks or one set of blocks for everything. So I can say maybe add another div into it, or maybe just add 2 divs and say this will be something like the wrapper, if I can spell wrapper. Then this will be like maybe the content, and we have the media or the image. This is one way to do it, and you now apply some kind of minimum width on it to shrink it. The other way, which is the most common way, is to start with a section, then put in the wrapper into that section, if I can drag. Okay, let's drag it in. So this will now be like our hero section. And within the hero section, we now have a wrapper, then a content, and media. The way I like to do it most of the time is on this section, I'll just put something like section class. If I can, then what did I put at that? Okay, then that section class, I'll just say it should not have any kind of style. Ideally, it shouldn't have any style, but you know, with most page builders, they always add some default styles like padding or something. So what I'll just do with that, I'll just zero out everything on that section. I just say I just want the section to be literally a section, just to like wrap my content in terms of the semantic HTML. Every other thing will be done by the wrapper. So just watch and see. So on the section, literally nothing. In fact, I will make it a section. Then what else? Let's see. So the section, the layout, I can even leave it as a block. Doesn't really matter because everything will be done from the wrapper. So the section is just going to be 100 width, 100% width, the default width. In fact, I like to make it the width as auto. And then max width will now be 100%. Then on the wrapper, I'll give it a class name of wrapper. And for that one, I'll give the, where is it? The undersize, the width as, oh, okay, this is a long time ago. Let me delete that. As auto again. Max width. I'll now put something like main. No, I have to use calc. So if you want to use like functions within any of the units, you can. There are two ways. Either you click and choose FX. That will now allow you to add variables and things like that, or you can choose to just type. Let me go to pixels. You can just press C, and it will open up the function. That's what they call it now, CSS function. So you can now write any CSS function you want. So for example, I can say min 100% minus whatever padding I want, which is maybe 20 pixels. Ideally, it should be a CSS variable. And then the maximum should be 1200 pixels. And we should get the layout we need. Let's just put a background color to make sure that it's working. So I'll say, what is it? Background. The color should be red. So you see, now we are having our layout the way we need it. And okay, no, I don't have anything inside. Let me just put something in there like a heading. I don't know. I don't like using red color, but every time I choose red, let me use blue instead or something less. Don't know. Yeah, something like that. Just okay. So you can see it is sticking to the content. So there are so many different ways you can approach any layout you want, which is why I always say try to avoid like this stereotype of like it must be done this way. This is the only way things can be done. There is always different ways, especially with the way things are progressing, that one way can be the best today. Tomorrow there will be another new CSS property that makes that new way better and another way better and so on. So just try to get the way that works best for you and always keep improving, keep iterating, checking out, okay, what is the limitation of this method I'm using? Is there any way I can improve on that method and things like that? And you see that there are different methods. For example, you can design a layout using Flex. Somebody else who can use CSS Grid, and you get the same layout, but with different approaches. If you check all of those CSS battles, you start to see that, okay, yes, that is the reality, that there's never only one way to do anything. And yeah, I saw a question by Eddie. See, why did I start with a div, not a flex box? To be honest, you can use anyone because Elementor just had them as two separate blocks, but fundamentally they are the same block. They are both divs and they are the same. So you can start with any one as long as you give it a class name, and then you style the class according to the way you want to use it. Because I think one of the reasons why they started with those having two separate blocks is because of how people have been going attacking them a lot from the bricks community, saying how, you know, with bricks you have four different blocks. You have the section, you have container, you have the block element, and then you have the div element, and these have predefined styles. So Elementor tried to do the same thing, yeah, which is try to get that two blocks, but fundamentally they're the same. So the way I typically start it is, let me go ahead and delete everything again. So the way I typically start is I'll start with something like a div block for as my section. Then I'll give it a HTML tag of section, if the section is appropriate for that div. So that will be my hero section. Then within the hero section, I'll add a flex box, and that will be a wrapper. Then within the wrapper, I will now add two blocks, so maybe two divs or two flex. Let me use flex, two flex box. This is one thing I don't like about Elementor right now, is that I don't know how to like add multiple elements. Like, how do we do that? If I click, when I click, there's no other, I don't know, is there any shortcut to add multiple elements? Because the moment you click, it closes it and opens the settings, which can be a bit slow. Because sometimes you may want to add like multiple elements into the same thing. So yeah, with the flex box, the first one is my content, and the second one is my media. So these are just basically divs. The first div is a section, then the other one is going to be the wrapper, which is a flex box that has a fixed main width. I tend to use width as auto, mainly because if the width is 100%, sometimes it acts funny. But if you use the width of auto, it tends to like not break the layout. So nowadays I just use width of auto. Or at least that's the default width that comes with every boxed element. Only when it's necessary, then I put a width of 100%. So the first one is the section. Then I can now go to the style and put my section class that I've already created. The second one is a wrapper. So I'll put my wrapper class. And automatically it gets what I need. Let me go ahead and get rid of the color. How do we do that? Okay, yeah, the brush sign. And then we have our two divs, one for the content and one for the media. So now we can go ahead and start adding our content. So the first content is, let's see, how did she do it? Inspect. Okay, so we first have a keynote. So this is like the main heading for the entire page, called the keynote speaker, WordPress FSE trainer, and accessibility coach. Basically, that sums up everything that happens on the page. Then she now has the first section, which is your expert agency. It has some description about it. Then we have the other sections. So I think we can do something like that. That's one thing I like that about HTML content, that let me give another example. Like, you know, every time people just say, okay, I remember back in the day, there were a lot of content creators always saying that, okay, you should have your H1 should be the big text, then whatever is on top of it should be your lead or whatever, or your, how do we call it, description, excerpt, something that goes on top, or eyebrow content should be like a paragraph. But sometimes it might be the opposite, whereby the eyebrow content or the lead or the whatever is your main H1, and then the content that follows underneath is maybe a paragraph text or an H2 or something, depending on how the content is structured, which is why I always tell people to start with the HTML first. Like, forget about the design and everything. Just literally, in fact, if you're using maybe a notebook or something, literally write down your content in HTML first. See the structure, make sure that everything works well, that the lists are written as lists, the headings are written as headings, whatever is written. Then after that, you now apply your styles, your CSS. After your CSS, you now apply your interactions, which is your JavaScript and any dynamic data you have like PHP and everything. So start with your HTML content first. Like like forget the design completely. That's why you have a content writer. The person should write the content in full, everything in pure HTML if possible, or like a markdown language if possible. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like Anu saying that all of these talk about the heading level. That's what has confused a lot of people now, that they feel that the heading level is what determines whether it's an H1, H2, H3, but that is not it. It is like sometimes it translates, but not every time. Like, yeah, so just have that at the back of your mind. Okay, so as we were saying, so it all depends on how you view these sites. So let's look at the headings map and we'll decide together. So let me zoom in a little bit. I don't know if everybody can see it. At least now everybody should be able to see it. So the title of the website is called Your Expert for WP Agency Consulting and Accessibility. You can easily see that if you right click, inspect, view source code of your page, and you search for title, and you can see it there. Your expert for WP Agency Consulting and Accessibility Mentor and Bovele, my English. This is very important because a screen reader user, once they land on your website, the first thing that is read to them is the title of the website. So don't just haphazardly write a random title, maybe for SEO purposes. You just are writing all the keyword stuffing in there. That title should be something descriptive that describes your entire that page or the website itself. Then that gives an idea of what this site is. After that, you now have your H1. So let me close it. So we now have our H1, which is the keynote speaker, WordPress, FSC trainer, accessibility coach. And then I think after that, this is now start of a section. And the section is your expert for WP agency, consulting, and accessibility mentor, which has some content underneath it, because that's very important. Once you have a heading, there must be like accompanying content that is related to that heading. If there is no text content at all, then this expert everything cannot actually be regarded as a heading. It's no longer a heading. But since you have this description that describes what the head is like a follow-up of the heading, then yeah, you can call this your expert for WP agency a heading, and then we have a description underneath it with a call to action. And then let's see, what's the next one? Keynote speaker. Okay. I would have thought, I don't know, that's me. I would have thought these 3 keynote speaker, agency coaching, and accessibility mentor will be like a subheading under this expert for digital agency. I'm not sure. That's just, which is why I said I always try to avoid all these talks. But I would have thought that those would be like H3s underneath the experts agency, because they're like giving you further description of what you do. So you do 3 services which are part of your expert agency consulting. That's my thought. But yeah, as you can now follow all of those. But let's try and just build the sites now. Let me zoom out a little bit so that the site works. Okay. So let's try and build the site. Hi Max, thank you for joining in. It's been a while. Yeah, so we are just trying to build this site. So I'm going to do the same way. I'll just say this is an H1 and this will be an H2 and paragraph. In some cases, this can be H1, this will be a paragraph or a strong tag to say maybe this is the most important part of the section, and then this will be a paragraph text. So everything is all good. Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, I think I made some sense. Okay, so let's start. I can say heading. This would be an H1. Oh, I actually added Robbie. Where did I get this style from? Interesting. Where did that style coming from? Oh boy. I'll have to inspect the page and see what I did because I was just playing around with so many things on this site. And it seems I've put a red color on my headings. I think. We'll see. Okay, so I think keynote speaker and the other should be H3. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I think as well. The keynote speaker, yeah. So, okay, so yeah, and agreed. So let's continue. So the first one is the heading. Sorry, I'm just jumping around with my mouse. Then I'm just going to copy the text. Or let me inspect. And I'll just copy that text. Make sure I copy the right text. So that's the H1. Then I can add another heading. And that is your expert for everything there. Copy. That's the H2 in this scenario. And the last one is the paragraph. Let's put a paragraph text. And like I said, with Elementor now, you are using everything like you put it, it's one-to-one relationship. So if you want a paragraph, you use a paragraph element. If you want a maybe another paragraph, you use another paragraph element. You don't put all of your, before we just use the text editor element and then we put everything there. But now we put it step by step. Ignore all of this initial style. And then we have a button. So the last thing is a button. And that button is book a free consultation. Okay, where are all these colors coming from? Interesting. Okay, so we have our layout. Let me just now start. So the first thing I'll do is now add because initially I added a global class called section, which basically will apply to every section. Now I want to apply another class that will apply locally to this specific section, or I can just use the local styling. Either one will work. But let me just apply a local class and say maybe this will be the hero. Let me copy that. Then the next one will be the hero wrapper or inner. So the inner block to the hero. Then the next one will be like the hero content. So the content for the hero section. And the other block will be the hero media. Okay, so now for the hero content, I want it to be flex. So I'll go to layout. It should be flex and it should have direction of column. So we're getting there slowly. Then the next thing is the other block should have an image. Oh yeah, that's the last thing I forgot to add an image to my media block. I should have added all of the content first before I start styling, but I forgot to add the media, so I'll add the media and I'll just copy the image, inspect. Let's copy the URL and then paste it. How do I do that? Oh, select image. Oh, I can't do that anymore. I thought Elementor allowed you to just add the URL directly. Oh, I can't. Let me see. Nope, no way. Okay, I guess they've changed something. Because I remember in the previous version of the image widget, the old version, you could literally just add insert media. Yeah, insert media from URL and just paste the URL there, and you get your image. But nowadays, I think it has changed. They've made some changes, so delete. I can't do that anymore. Insert image, upload file. No, I can't do that. Too bad. Okay, let me just use a random image then. Okay, so we get our image. I can choose the size. Oh, that's a lot of sizes. Okay. Yep. So we have our initial setup of the content, and we've added our classes, I believe. Yeah, so I think Elementor has changed the style that they no longer allow you to add image directly from a URL. Maybe that's something with the atomic elements, or maybe they will include it sometime soon. Yeah. Yeah, no, if I didn't want to upload. I know Eddie. Yeah, I didn't want to upload the image because it's not my image. I didn't want to just rip someone else's image. I don't wanted to use the URL directly, so I can just reference the person's image. But I might have to do that. But let me just ignore that. So now we have our initial setup. For some reason, it's still broken. Yeah, something is broken because it's not showing that red color. It's showing the red color here, but not showing it on the front end. So what did I do? Let me refresh. Okay, yeah, now it's better. Now it's back. I guess that the class just didn't apply properly. Yeah. Exactly. I just wanted to reference the image without having to use the image. So my class is not applied properly. I'm guessing it's something to do with caching again. I may have to deactivate caching. So the hero content, display flex, flex direction, rows. That means my CSS did not apply. How do I clear my cache on this site? Okay, clear. Let me see, clear files and data. Yeah, okay, it's done. Okay, so we have our initial setup, we have the text, and we have the image. So we're just trying to do something simple. It's basically very simple. We want to just have, I think there's equal spacing across everything. So probably would be like, yeah, the H1 has a heading, okay. The P has the same amount of spacing, and then the div block. Okay, so all of them have a spacing of margin block start of, where is it? It's not the gap, I believe. Yeah, it's not the gap. It's a margin. And the margin is 48 pixels, which is coming from where? Okay, yeah. So that's the margin start. So I can do the same thing. We'll be employing the classes and custom CSS in this example. So first, let's start with the first one, which is the keynote speaker, and then we'll go to the style, and then I can call that maybe hero. How do we give names to all these elements? I'm always struggling to give them names. So what will I call it? Maybe heading? No. Title? Probably. Or hero eyebrow? I don't know. Can someone give me a suggestion of this small heading at the top? What class name should I give it? Let me try to get an idea from hers. Okay, there is no, is the normal, okay, keynote, I guess. Keynote speaker, no, that's the ID. What name can I give it? So I'll say something like hero. But if that's the title, then the other one will be called what? If this is the title, then the second one, what do I call it? Your expert for WP agency. Okay, yeah, maybe first one will be hero accent. Thank you, Lex, hero accent. And I'll give that a size. I think it's a typography, yeah. So I do understand when people like Kevin talk about like having UI is a bit of a limitation, because then you have to start clicking different places. But if you know where they are already, it can be faster. But then if you don't know where they are, you have to start clicking multiple drop downs just to find the exact element that you're looking for. So I can understand when people complain about UI. And for that reason, let's just try out with the custom CSS now. So with the custom CSS, everything is easy. So you can say maybe font size of, let's see, I'm going to do something very bad now and say 48 pixels, which should never be done. But usually you have like a variable like var, maybe text m, but I think I don't have any variables saved on this site, so it might not work. So let's see. This is okay. So first thing I'll do is define some variables first. You can either define the variable directly from Elementor here and say maybe go to the typography and font size. You choose to click on this icon that says var. Yeah, I think this might be the best solution. What Max is saying, that there's always that trouble of both ways are limited. If you try to use UI alone, you get some limitation because the user might not know the name of those UI elements. So they will start with saying something like, they'll try to say maybe I'm trying to get the font size, but they may not know what font size means. So it'll be difficult for them to remember, because sometimes like all of these font and text related CSS, some things will be like text. Let me see an example. If you want to do an underline, you say something like text decoration. If you want to do size, you say font size. If you want to do what else? Line height. So many things, they have different naming. Some things are called font dash something. Some things are called text dash something. So sometimes it can be confusing. So it may be stressful for the user. But if we have AI to autocomplete for us that can try to understand what we're looking for and autocomplete, that might be the perfect solution. So yeah, I think I do agree. But yeah, there's always going to be a limitation with different styles. Yeah. Well, yeah, let's see. Let's continue. Unfortunately, I didn't define some. I should have defined some variables first. You can define variables in multiple ways. You can do that all from your what's it called? Your maybe WP code box or one of those your code elements, or you can define it one after the other. So you go to your maybe your typography. If you go under these variables, we now have this new thing called variable manager. So if you click on the settings, you have a variable manager. Here you can now define all of your text sizes. So you can say add new. Is it? No, not font. Sorry. Let's delete that. So you say add new, and then you choose size, and I can now say that is maybe text dash S or M, no, L, and that will be something like 4M. But this is where the limitation is that you can't use, that's what I said in my video as well, you can't write functions here currently. So it's still a limitation, because basically you say text L and then you have to define if a finite value, so either in rems, in pixels, in VW or whatever, but you have to define a finite value. So that's, I think they said they're going to add it in the next update or the update after that. You'll be able to add functions as the variable names, but for now you are stuck with writing like values. So I'm just going to copy her own value. So inspect and use that as my font sizes. So this will be like the largest size, or maybe XL. And I think the computed value is, that's the computed value. So, oh yeah, it's also written in clamp. So I'm just going to choose the maximum value there, which is 3 rem. So yeah, this is still a limitation of Elementor. Ideally, I'll just write this whole variable in my WP code box for now, or somewhere. But let me just say that's 3 rem. So now I can reference this. Let me call it Excel. Save and close. So now I believe I should be able to just come back to my heading, to my class, go to my CSS variable and define it as XL. No, it's still not working. Save and refresh. Yeah, I think Anne did the perfect way of adding those colors. I don't know how she did this. All the colors just work. They just work well. Like I like the colors of that she used on the website, like the rainbow colors, but they just blend well together and they're nice. Okay, so let's see. Okay, now it's working. So I think my caching is really, really affecting my CSS. So I have to refresh the page for anything to show. Yeah. So the first heading. And yeah, it has affected it again. So accent heading, there's no CSS there. So let me see. Let's try again. Font size. Should be let's say 20, just to see if it's working. Yeah, it's working. So let's now do var text m. Does that work? Text XL. Oh yeah, it's working. It's working. Yeah, text m. Then the other one will be hero double underscore title, and that will now have a font size of var text XL. Yeah, okay. So save. And let's see on the front end, refresh. I may have to do clear caching again. Yeah, I have to clear cache again because my caching on this site is super, it's constantly caching everything. And no, that didn't even work. I give up. I think I should let me open a new site on my local PC for now. Let's see, I think I have one with Elementor installed. Let's try with that. Do I have any Elementor sites installed? So that I don't keep, because my caching is constantly affecting everything. But yeah, what are the features of Elementor that you all like the most? Because I think I just need to update. I'm just currently updating every plugin on the site. But in fact, I should have added a poll right now. Let me just add a poll if I can. What is your favorite page builder? I know it's always a hot topic that people don't like to talk about, but I will also add a poll in the comments. What's your favorite page builder? You can just let me know. Let me put some options. And okay, so start poll. There should be a poll in the comments now. You can choose, and we'll get there. Let me try while I keep updating on my site, and we'll go from there. I can already see. I can see the numbers don't lie. I guess everybody is going to be choosing one of those page builders. Might take over the whole stream, but for now I don't have access to it anymore, so I can't actually talk about it. But yeah, I don't know how many people were there for the last stream between. Oh yeah, unfortunately, what's it called? And I apologize. Unfortunately, it only allows me to add 4 page builders. So I added the 4. I couldn't add another page builder, unfortunately. You can only add 4 options. But yeah, Gutenberg should be the one of the options. Unfortunately, sorry, I skipped that. But yeah, talking about Gutenberg, I don't know how many people were available for yesterday's stream with Reno and Remkus, where they were talking about performance of your website and how to improve performance. I really enjoyed that stream, and there were a lot of points to take away from it. Well, Lex, technically, we can still call it a page builder, I guess. I know some people will attack me for saying that element that site editor is not a page builder. It is full site editing. They're different, but you are still building pages with it, which then means it is a page builder. I don't know. Maybe with something like Gutenberg or Generate Press, Green Light, Green Shift. I know that we specifically term them as block editors, but they build pages. So yeah. Okay, so I think this site should have updates now. I'm just going to try to let's switch. Let me just quickly try and get the beta version. So go under Elementor and then Tools and go under Version Control, enable beta tester. Then you'll be able to access the latest beta. So let's see if it's there. So I'll go to plugins and let me zoom out a little bit. So now we have Elementor version 3.33 beta 4 and Elementor Pro version 3.33 beta 2. Okay, so it's active. So I can now go to a page. Let's create a new page, or I'll do the same thing, home page. Edit with Elementor. Let's see what fun updates we have there. Oh yeah, this is where I built that other site. So now let me use another page. Page, add new page. These days I just keep switching between Command UI and the native command palette for different page builders, like Elementor's command palette. If you press Ctrl E, you open Elementor's command palette. If you press Ctrl K, I think, or is it double? Yeah, you open Command UI's command palette, and then you can do similar things. Okay, so refreshed top bar layout, got it. Yeah, before I forget, Elementor have changed their top bar layout. They've made some improvements, I think. Previously, you get your settings, your cog icon somewhere there for each page, but I think now they've changed it. And I think if you go to, let me close the settings. If you go to the side somewhere, that's where you get your settings. So everything now has been put under the E icon. You get almost everything there. Then if you want to add an element, there's a plus icon. And yeah, then the page settings is, previously the page settings used to be in the top center. They've now made it to be the top left of your page, and then there's the history. So those are the things that Elementor have changed in the top bar. They're trying to make the top bar as clean as possible, not too much information on the top bar. But yeah, let me try and redo that same thing again. So I'll start with the div block. Then within the div block, a flex. Within the flex, I'll add 2 more flex boxes. So I'll just duplicate. And that will be the hero section. And the flex box will be the wrapper. Then we have our content and our media. And media. Okay, so within the content, we'll have about 2 headings. That's the first heading is going to be called keynote speaker. Let's close the other one. Then that will be an H1. The second heading is your expert. And that is an H2. The next one is the paragraph text. That's just going to be a P tag or a paragraph. paste. And the final thing is a button. So book as the button element, and that should be book a free consultation. Okay, so yeah, we have that, and then finally the image, which is the media. I'm just going to use the old image widget because I'm not really going to do much styling on the media, I believe. So I'll use the old image widget so I can add a URL directly. Just copy the URL and insert from URL, paste alt text. Because I'm lazy, I'm just going to also copy the alt text. Where's the alt text? Image. Okay. Portrait. Yeah, that's it. Paste that alt text. And we have everything set up. It looks broken because of how CSS works, basically. But yeah, we can now start adding our styles. So the first one is the section. And then I'll call it hero section or hero. Then the next one is the wrapper. I don't think I haven't added any class to the wrapper in this example. Then we call the hero underscore inner. Then we have the content. What else? We have media. Okay, and then I will only just style the first two things, which are the hero accent and hero title. Okay, so we have most of the classes added. Now I can now start applying my classes. So let me see on my wrapper. I don't know if I've added the required styles. I believe so. I hope so. Let me just check it on the front end. Publish and preview on the front end, because like I said, this is a different site. No, I've not done that. Let me see the classes, if I've added any styles to them previously on when I was building the last example. There's a lot of divs. Where did all these divs come from? Okay, so this is the hero. Interesting. Am I using the wrong element? Why are they having so many classes? That's a lot of classes. That's a lot. Why are there so many classes on one element? Am I doing something wrong? Something feels off. The previously usually just has only one class, but now each of my elements are having e dash dot hero accent e base, and the other one Elementor element with the e con e atomic element. This is a lot of classes. Like, no, this was not there before. At least in the last version, I don't remember seeing so many classes for each container. I mean, I could be wrong. But okay, yeah, let's continue. And what have I done? Refresh the page. Let me just move my face so that you can see everything. I just want to make sure that everything is in order. So let me go to plugins and remove any unnecessary plugin here. So we have WP code box, right place. Let me remove Jet Engine, Jet Form Builder, Dynamic Jet Timber. Oh, okay, we have core framework. Okay, then Command UI. Okay, I think that's all. Maybe let me remove bit flows as well, and advanced custom fields. Okay, yeah, let's just leave this plugins. Refresh. So we'll continue with the styles where we stopped. So first thing I'll do is make sure that everything is okay. So I'll go to my section and I will zero out all of the padding and margin. I don't need anything. So everything just zeroed out. I believe I've already done that. Yes. So everything is zeroed out. The paddings are 0. and the margins can be 0 as well. Then I'll go to my wrapper. On the wrapper layout, I'll set the layout to be flex, and the flex direction should be row. Then I'll go under spacing, set the margin for the left and right to auto, just the left and right to be auto. Then the padding for the left and right should be, so padding should be var something is just different. I don't know. Let's just exit. I'll find it out later what I've done, because it's been a while. But the width, I'll say the width is just auto. The max width, I'll say that's min of 100% minus maybe 40 pixels, comma 1200 pixels. I'm just doing some random numbers now. Ideally, all of these should be variables of different variables I've already defined somewhere else, but I'm just trying to speed up the process. Then I'll now go to the next one, which is my content, and I'll put it again. Display flex direction should be column, okay, and maybe the align items to be in the, no, not align items. Align items should be start, and the justify content to be centered. So that's the next thing. Then I'll now go to the next one, which is my heading, and I will apply the headings. So I'll go to, I think I already have, since I have core framework, I can use the core framework's variables. So I believe that should work. So say font size should be var text M, text L. No, still not working. Let's see. Okay, so go to core framework. And typography. So okay, I used dd text as the variable name, dd text, okay? So that's dd text M. Okay, I think that works. Next one, the title, font size, var dd text XL. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, it was just me not typing the right words. It keeps breaking. I have no idea what is happening to their global CSS. It's disappearing. Font size, var motion detected at the front door. Save. Next one, font size, var let's see if it disappears again. If it does, that means there's something wrong with their global class, their custom CSS for now. Okay, yeah, it's still working, so it's all good. Yeah, it's still showing up. I think it was because I had a wrong CSS the last time, but now it looks like it's no. It has disappeared again. My CSS has disappeared again. Refresh. Why does it disappear? And then it's still there. But then when I click and I click back, then the CSS disappears. I think there's still some work for Elementor to do with their global classes. I think something is just wrong. It keeps disappearing. And yeah, let's just see the comments, I can't see very well, so I'm just going to pop out my chart and try to zoom the chart in well. Okay, so first, we have 11 votes currently about the page builders, and it looks like, okay, it looks like Brick still, at least from my own, let me try and pull it up so everybody can see what I'm saying. So it looks like from my own viewers, at least for now, most people still prefer Bricks, at least, and then followed by Elementor, followed by Edge, and I think Gutenberg. But I guess maybe not many people are fully supporting Buildarius for now, because I think Buildarius is still an alpha version. I think that's why, no, not alpha, beta version. So maybe that's why it's not getting as much votes yet. Yeah, so let me try and read the comments. Okay. Oh, okay, yeah, so Cloudfest. Anybody attend Cloudfest? I think it's Cloudfest USA going on right now, right? And then you say, so... Jimmy, I did not see your comment initially. So you mean the light mode is too bright for you? Okay, let me try and switch it to dark mode then. I didn't see your comment. So user preferences, dark mode. It's still light. Well, because my websites are always light mode. But yeah, you can choose light mode if you want, or dark mode. But yeah. So well, let's continue. I don't know why Elementor's CSS keeps disappearing. It just disappears. Whenever I click back, it disappears until I refresh the page. So let's refresh the page again. And then now, it's still not even showing up. Nope, it's gone. Let's see on the front end if it's still applied. Nope, it's gone. So the global classes still has a problem when, so I suspect it's because I'm using variables. So whenever it sees those variables, it removes the variables or something like that. So let's see, font size. Let's say 20 pixels. Publish, and I'm going to refresh. This site has no caching, so I don't see why it is not staying. Clear. Yep, so I think I'll just pause for now and say there's still some work to be done with the global classes. I'm not sure if it's but I've tried it on 2 different sites, so that means there must be something affecting the global classes, or not the global classes, I mean the custom CSS that is not applying the custom CSS properly, is removing the CSS. It could be because my class name has a double underscore, because I remember with one other page builder, there was a time where something broke, that whenever you add either an underscore or something like that, then the CSS starts to not work properly. So that might be the case. I'm not sure. Let me try one last time. So I'll try with local CSS and put the class there. Font size. Okay, so that seems to be working. Text var text XL. Let's see. Publish. Okay, so that means it has something to do with my global classes. That's what is breaking it, because the local class seems to be applying properly. Only the global class seems to be having some issues. So let's just do everything on the local class. So text XL, and then font weight should be 500. Publish. Yeah, it's working. So I think it's just something to do with the custom CSS and global classes is creating problems. Then let's look at what else do we have here. We have your expert, and I think all of them are all font size, I think it's the regular font size, so it's not having any bold font size. So I'll still stick with 500. So I'll say font size should be var dd text to XL. Okay, to XL. And the font weight should be 500. Okay, yeah. So, yeah. Oh, thank you, Lex, for joining in. Yeah, we'll catch up later. But yeah, so now I've figured out, at least we'll try to write it out to the support that their global classes is still having issues with custom CSS. Where the local class seems to be working well with custom CSS, but the global classes are breaking. So that's something. And you can also use CSS nesting. So I'm going to do a bit of CSS nesting now. I think I have to do it on the local class, custom CSS, and say something like for each of them, each of the elements, if it is not the first child, right? Not the first child. I hope it works. Then it should have a margin top block start of 1M. Let's see. Okay, something is off. Let me try again. Let's see. Okay. So let me try one last time. I'll say, so for that element, all of their direct children, margin top 1M. Did it work? Publish, preview, inspect, element. Okay. So what was the wrong thing? Oh, nothing showed. Yeah, so I think there's still work to be done. It's still having some issues with the global, with the styling, because I tested this thing 2 days ago, and some of those things worked. Like when I tried to do the nesting, it worked, but today nesting seems to not be working as well. So I don't know what else to do. I think I shouldn't make more mess of it and just stop the stream here. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Any comments, anything you want me to work on in my next video or my next tutorial, I will be glad to do that. But I think I'm going to pause on Elementor for now until I figure out what all of the issues are and why they are causing issues. But it seems there's some issues going on in the back. I try to deactivate all the plugins that are add-ons just to make sure that there's nothing affecting the site, but something is still affecting it. And the custom CSS is not working as expected. So I'll pause that for now. Yeah. So thank you all very much for joining in. Thank you, Lex. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Max and Eddie. Thank you all for joining in. If you have any questions, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you all in the next live stream. And the next one will, depending on what happens, it will either be about bricks or build areas. If build areas comes up with the update that I've been hoping for, then the live stream will be about build areas. Otherwise, the next live stream will be about bricks and generally about accessibility as well. So Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next live stream.